Mrs. Levinson doesn't get back for another week, and I honestly don't know if I can handle it.
You're gonna have to assert some dominance over it all.
Dominance? I mean, I don't think I can do that.
You're submissive.
I am not submissive.
Really?
Oh my god, you're so right. Lesbian is way better than straight.
Well, so are you ready?
Are you okay?
You should knock first.
What's that?
This fourth scene unfolds as one of the film's most structurally complex and ethically charged moments, using an initially awkward encounter between Lauren, a college resident assistant, and Maya, a resident navigating intense and confusing feelings, to explore how care, authority, vulnerability, and desire intersect in women-centered spaces. And while the dialogue opens with embarrassment and humor, the narrative quickly reveals a deeper emotional undercurrent about boundaries, trust, and the longing to be understood without judgment, particularly within institutional environments that claim to prioritize safety, yet often lack the language to address women's interior lives. Maya's distress at being interrupted functions not merely as situational comedy, but as an expression of how private self-exploration is frequently disrupted by external surveillance, a theme that resonates strongly with queer women who have learned to negotiate their desires under watchful systems such as schools, family, and workplaces. And Lauren's presence as an authority figure complicates this dynamic by embodying both care and control, reflecting the dual role many women occupy when asked to be both nurturing and regulatory within the same breath. The scene's tension arises not from sensationalism but from uncertainty, as both women struggle to understand what is appropriate, what is needed, and how to respond to vulnerability without causing harm. And this uncertainty mirrors real-life queer experiences in which the rules governing intimacy are often unclear, especially when layered with power imbalances and institutional roles. Lauren's initial instinct to withdraw, citing responsibility to others, underscores how women are frequently trained to prioritize duty over connection, even when confronted with someone's immediate emotional need. And yet her hesitation also reflects an ethical awareness that is often absent from portrayals of authority figures, suggesting that restraint itself can be a form of care. Maya's insistence that Lauren stay, framed not as entitlement but as a plea for assistance, reveals a longing for guidance that goes beyond the practical, highlighting how many queer women seek not instruction but reassurance that their feelings are valid and manageable. The film carefully avoids portraying Lauren as a savior or Maya as helpless, instead presenting a negotiation in which both women articulate boundaries and discomfort, modeling a form of consent that is verbal, tentative, and ongoing. This negotiation is particularly significant within lesbian and queer contexts, where mentorship and intimacy often blur, and where women must learn to navigate closeness without replicating harmful hierarchies. The scene's emphasis on taking things slowly operates on multiple levels, referring not only to emotional pacing but to the broader process of self-discovery, suggesting that authenticity cannot be rushed without cost. Lauren's guidance, framed in general terms, about comfort and readiness rather than specifics, positions her as someone who understands that emotional safety precedes any meaningful connection, and this understanding resonates with queer audiences who have often learned through trial and error that rushing intimacy can replicate external pressures rather than alleviate them. The acknowledgement of prior experiences, mentioned casually and without spectacle, situates both women within a continuum of exploration rather than a binary of novice and expert, reinforcing the film's commitment to portraying queer desire as iterative and evolving. Maya's relief as the conversation progresses reflects the power of being met without judgment, illustrating how women's anxiety often dissipates not through answers but through presence. And this depiction aligns with feminist theories of relationality that emphasize connection over resolution. The institutional setting of the dorm room adds a layer of complexity, symbolizing how queer women's lives unfold within structures not designed for their emotional realities. And the film's choice to stage this moment within such a space critiques the limitations of policies that address behavior without addressing feeling. Lauren's dual identity as both peer and authority mirrors real-life dynamics within queer communities, where women often occupy multiple roles simultaneously, serving as friends, mentors, and caretakers, while still grappling with their own uncertainties. And the film honors this complexity by refusing to flatten her character into a single function. The scene also engages with broader themes of emotional labor, as Lauren's attentiveness demonstrates how women are often expected to manage others' feelings. Yet the film complicates this expectation by showing her actively negotiating how much she can give without compromising her responsibilities, thereby resisting narratives that frame women's care as limitless. For Maya, the experience becomes less about the specific challenge she is facing, and more about learning to listen to her own body and emotions. A lesson that extends beyond sexuality into broader questions of self-trust and autonomy. Queer women may recognize themselves in Maya's initial overwhelm, reflecting how societal silence around women's pleasure and desire can lead to confusion and self-doubt. Particularly when one's feelings do not align neatly with dominant scripts, the scene's humor, derived from awkwardness rather than mockery, serves to humanize both characters, reminding viewers that vulnerability often arrives ungracefully, and that this lack of polish does not diminish its sincerity, the film's restrained approach. To this interaction challenges cultural tendencies to either trivialize or sensationalize women's intimacy, instead insisting that even moments of confusion deserve thoughtful attention. By centering dialogue and emotional cues rather than action, the narrative invites viewers to consider how intimacy is built. Through communication, patience, and mutual recognition, values that are often emphasized within queer communities as survival strategies in a world that offers few templates, the power imbalance inherent in Lauren's role is not ignored but examined, with the film allowing discomfort to remain unresolved rather than smoothing it over, thereby acknowledging that ethical intimacy requires ongoing reflection rather than simple answers. This choice reflects a broader commitment to realism, recognizing that queer women often navigate relationships within imperfect systems and must make decisions without clear guidance. The scene's conclusion, marked by a sense of calm rather than closure, reinforces the idea that self-discovery is an ongoing process, and that moments of connection do not need to culminate in certainty to be meaningful. For women viewers, regardless of orientation, the themes of burnout, responsibility, and the longing to be cared for without being judged may resonate deeply. Reflecting how many women carry the weight of expectation while quietly seeking spaces of rest, the film's portrayal of Lauren and Maya's interaction contributes to conversations about chosen family and peer support, illustrating how care can emerge in unexpected places when women allow themselves to be present with one another. Critically, the scene resists framing women's intimacy as transgressive, instead situating it within everyday contexts and emphasizing its ordinariness, which is itself a radical gesture in a culture that often treats lesbian desire as exceptional or disruptive. By insisting on seriousness and nuance, the film affirms that women's love for women, whether romantic, exploratory, or supportive, deserves thoughtful representation. The scene also critiques the lack of institutional language for addressing emotional and sexual well-being among women, suggesting that policies alone cannot replace empathetic conversation. Lauren's careful wording and Maya's attentive listening model a form of dialogue that prioritizes respect and consent, offering viewers an example of how difficult conversations can unfold without harm. The film's broader narrative arc, which places this scene alongside others depicting women at different stages of self-recognition, reinforces the idea that queer experience is diverse and non-linear, and that each woman's journey contributes to a collective understanding of resilience. Ultimately, this scene encapsulates the film's central thesis that women's relationships with one another, even when fraught with uncertainty, are sites of profound learning and care, and that by attending to these moments with patience and honesty, the film challenges audiences to reconsider how intimacy, authority, and vulnerability can coexist. In presenting Lauren and Maya not as archetypes but as individuals navigating complex emotional terrain, the film offers a mirror for viewers seeking recognition rather than spectacle. And in doing so, it affirms that the quiet work of becoming visible to oneself and others is both necessary and transformative, in a world that still struggles to fully acknowledge the depth and legitimacy of women's love for women.